You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, Kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.
Good morning, everyone. This is Gangadas from Radio Mayapur, the link to your heart from Mayapur. Welcome, everybody. Today is another wonderful day. The sun is shining on our head, and the beautiful, bright color in Mayapur is astounding with beautiful, clear sky. But today we have a very wonderful person to do the podcasting. It's Visvambhar Prabhu, who is from the Mayapuris group, and he's a wonderful devotee, 38 years old, and he's married, and he has a father and mother. The mother is an Angamanjari. She is from Italy, I believe, from Napoli. Yeah, that's
originally, but she grew up in the U.S.
Okay, that's my same city. There's something in common here. And his father is Bhadra. He's from Gujarat, India. That's a beautiful place, wonderful people in Gujarat. And his wife is Rinda Devi from Sweden. Kan du förstå danska?
Tack, tack.
Tak, tak. Oh, nice. And has three beautiful, lovely children. And he's the lead singer of the Mayapuris. And here is in Mayapur with us today. So I hope that he will remain in Mayapur with us and enrich our life with his beautiful Kirtan and nice Mridangas, which is learning from Bablu, our old friend, Kirtan, and Mridanga teacher. So Visvambhar Prabhu, I'm so happy to see you today. And I would like to ask you, what made you change the course of your life and take a decision to come to Mayapur, the holy land in the universe?
Well, Ganga Prabhu, it's an honor to be here with you on Radio Mayapur and with Nityananda Ram Prabhu, who is behind the scenes here running this operation. First of all, I want to beg the blessings of all the Mayapur Vasis, because if I know that it's only by their mercy that I can actually stay here. We've only been here 6 weeks so far, and but it's feeling full of blessing, feeling full of the invitation, Mahaprabhu's invitation has reached our hearts, has reached us.
Absolutely.
And we want to stay as long as we can. A big part of the decision for coming here was that myself and Vrinda, well, I spent time here as a kid in
I do
96.
remember you when you were small.
Yeah, 96, 97. After Vrindavan Gurukul, I stayed in Mayapur, and my memories here are just so wonderful. The Ganga and the temple, and there was a big flood that year. And so I have these memories of Mayapur that have stayed with me. And we named our group Mayapuris,
right?
Because all three members of our group had all spent some time in Mayapur. So we felt we wanted to spread the glories of this wonderful land. But basically why we're here now is because me and my wife, we knew that we want our kids to also spend time in India.
Nice.
We've been bringing them up in America, in Alachua, Florida, which is a wonderful community, and everything is just perfect there.
Nice.
So, but we knew that we wanted them to be in Mayapur and to also share some of the experience that we had. I remember a couple of years ago bringing my son. He might have been 3 years old, and we were riding around on a motorbike, and I started saying Hari Bol, passing by people on the road and saying Hari Bol, and his face brightened up. Oh, I can say Hari Bol to everybody here in Mayapur?
Yes, you can.
and so and my daughter's turning 9, so we thought now it's now or never. Let's get to Mayapur now. Let's do this before the teenage years hit.
I'm sure you'll be here with us for a long time, and you got the blessing of Mahaprabhu, who is the most merciful, and the blessing of all the Vaishnavas are very, very eager to build up this wonderful spiritual city. So you have been with the Mayapuri for many, many years, since inception, I believe. How many years is it?
Yeah, well, in 2001, Kish and Bali, who are my partners in Mayapuris,
Yes.
They're both brothers, and they had just come back from living in Mayapur in the Gurukul here. I was 17, I believe they were 14 and 15, and we started doing Mridanga demonstrations together for our community. And soon after that, we started getting invited to places internationally. And in 2010, we recorded our first album. But right before that, we hit like 6 continents in 1 year. We went to 6 continents doing Kirtan. And there was this real revolution, I think, within ISKCON of Kirtan festivals.
Yes.
Kind of around 2008, 2009. There was this like revolution of Kirtan festivals suddenly started popping up all around, and this focus on Kirtan. And at the same time, parallel to that, in the yoga scene, Kirtan just really started to click with people, and people started chanting, and there was all these yoga music festivals happening like Bhaktifest and things like that. And we kind of dropped in the scene and immediately started getting prime time on the main stages. And because of the vibrancy of what I would say Mahaprabhu's Kirtan style, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of people doing Kirtan out there, but how many of them know about Mahaprabhu and his mood and the style and the dancing and the dress? And so we were able to come as we are, wearing tilak, wearing dhoti, and playing mridangas, and just dropped in the scene. And one of my mentors in that scene, Jai Uttal, who's a very famous Kirtan singer, he called us the young tigers of Kirtan. So
that's beautiful.
We're not so young anymore.
Listen, one thing. At that time, you were all not married, right? You were traveling alone, and we were free spirit, free birds, traveling around the world. But then at a certain point, all 3 of you got married, and then the logistic changed. Now tell me what happened when you get married, because I saw some of your wives, I don't remember, some of them are dancers.
Absolutely.
And some of them, they help you singing and performing, which is beautiful. And so what are the logistic changing when in a music group now you get married and there's different responsibility in your life?
Well, one of the things that's kept us together all these years, now going on to 22 years, I would say, is our dedication, our friendship with each other. First of all, our friendship with each other. And secondly, this real strong feeling that we have a mission, that we have a service to spread the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically. And so whatever has come up, we've obviously grown, hopefully matured a little bit, 3 kids later in my case. But, we feel this strong bond in that way. And luckily, all of our partners are also so talented. I mean, Bali's married to Danya, who's the daughter of Havi Ilan Chester. She's a singer-songwriter herself. My wife Vrinda is trained in Bharatanatyam for many, many years. She has a degree in it actually, and she grew up with Kirtan and like that. So at least during that time, before we had kids, we were able to bring our wives along also, and they just became part of the presentation. Obviously, with kids now, and Bali and Kish just this year recently had babies, and so Bali's on his second, and Kish just had his first. So somehow I'm ahead of them with 3. But I told them I'm just warming Mayapur up so that they can come. I'm just warming things up, and eventually we get them all over here. Our traveling around the world and doing all that, it's been amazing. And I'm sure if Krishna pushes us to continue in that way, but we are working on music remotely. And really, our heartfelt desire is to sit in the bhajan kutir and do kirtan with each other in the bhajan kutir. That the response has been only positive from all areas that we've gone to. The response has been very positive. And one of the things we've seen since we've been in this kind of yoga, kirtan, music festival scene is that a lot of people are chanting Hare Krishna mantra a lot more. Even other kirtan singers who may have avoided chanting Hare Krishna. They may have chanted other mantras a lot. But, the Hare Krishna mantra is the most joyful. It is Anandam Buddhivardhanam. It's an ever increasing, ocean of bliss. So I think that everyone has now begun to experience that more and more. And you hear them chanting a lot more Mahamantra. You hear them singing melodies that, either Indra Prabhu's melodies or being inspired more and more. And one thing that I do regularly is I actually bring people to India once a year. I bring them on a pilgrimage.
Nice.
So we'll go on pilgrimage to some holy place and we'll immerse ourselves in bhakti practice. And from that, then I get an opportunity to teach some japa and how to offer prasadam. And we put tilak on and we chant Nishingadev prayers whenever we get in a vehicle. And like that, it's an immersive experience. And so many, many people are wanting to go deeper. Yoga's like this wonderful gateway. And then when those that want more, kirtan just opens up the world of bhakti to the heart. Through kirtan specifically, because kirtan, an example is like reggae music, right?
Right.
Bob Marley revolutionized reggae music.
Yes. And
what happened with reggae music is because it's a music, there's also a lifestyle behind it, right? There's the dress, there's the dreadlocks, there's, a certain way of acting, a certain way of being. There's a lifestyle that comes along with it. The music itself is available to everyone. And those people that then want to go deeper into that, they can then start to practice the lifestyle. So similarly, I feel like Mayapuris specifically we've wanted to do that for kirtan, to create kirtan as something that anyone can listen to, anyone can appreciate, people can just enjoy. And at the same time, if they want to go deeper, then there's a lifestyle and we dress the dress and we try to walk the walk as much as we can.
Sure.
And so when people start to show interest more and more, the music is a way that gets them into what's deeper than this? What is this feeling that I'm getting that is touching me, but I want to understand what it is and what it's about. And so over the years, we used to just do a lot of kirtan in the beginning, but over the years, we've been invited more and more to speak at workshops and to present to other yoga teachers and in ashrams where the head of the ashram will invite us to speak to the audience and speak to his students or her students and share more and more. So that's been very, very special.
Let me ask a personal question to Visvambhar Prabhu. At what point in your life you have decided to be a devotee? I know that we are coming from Gurukul. I had two sons, Gadadhar and Bhakta, and I never forced them, but we try to inspire our children. But at one point, I was telling my wife, the children that had to choose themselves to be what they want to be. That's the way my father trained us. He said, okay, life is yours. You take your decision. I can only assist you. So what point in your life you say, no, I want to be like this. I want to be a devotee. I want to do kirtan. I want to be,
Yeah.
And how old you were at that time?
Well, when I came out from Gurukul and when I moved from Mayapur, so I was about 14 when I left Mayapur, and I got exposure to the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and like rock and roll for the first time.
Wow.
And so that's when I decided first that I want to do music. Like I want to pursue music as a career. But for me, kirtan and music were separate. Kirtan is my spiritual practice. And I've always been invited to, as a Mridanga player, you're always invited to kirtan because they need a drummer. So I'm always being invited. So I never lost a connection to kirtan. But it was when I was 17 that I came to the Kumbh Mela.
Wow.
And I wanted to explore for myself, is this the path that I want to choose? And coming to Kumbh Mela and seeing the open-mindedness of the Vedic culture, the inclusivity of Vedic culture,
Beautiful.
Where there's a place for everyone. There's a place for the dreadlock babas who are wandering around naked. There's a place for the Shaktas, so to say. There's a place for even the Dalai Lama was there in 2001. Yes. And, the Buddhists plugged in and everybody, and the Vaisnavas, and we were doing Harinams every day and sitting around fires all night chanting. And for me, it made it clear that I want to be part of the Vedic, I choose this Vedic way of lifestyle, the Sanatan Dharma. I choose this. Right. And then, but still, I feel like I was still on the periphery of things. Like I was like a little, there's so many paths within that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I was trying to choose for myself. And fortunately, at the age of 19, His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj took me under his wing, and he invited me to travel with him. And first, he invited me for a couple of months, and a couple of months turned into 5 years, and I spent 5 years traveling with him. So that's made me whatever I do right now, I owe it to his association.
Many people inspire you. Can you say a few of them who are really inspire you? Apart from Lokanath Maharaj, you say that he took care of you for 5 years in traveling. But any other before that and after that?
Well, my mother's my first guru. My mother, she played Mridanga. She's a Prabhupada disciple, and she played Mridanga. She was one of the well-known Mridanga players back in the 70s. So when I was in her womb, she was playing Mridanga, and she kind of said she was subconsciously telling me that I better learn the beats. And that was her desire for me when I come out, when I was, and I feel fortunate that, I've had her to guide me. And my father's one of my favorite Kirtan singers. He rocks it. He can go for hours and hours. He rocks it. And I have to give credit also to Bhattahari Prabhu, because around that time when I was 17 and I wasn't exactly clear about which, I wanted to do music. And so he took me under his wing, and we started and we made an album together when I was 17. So that was my first experience recording Kirtan. And I think anyone that does Kirtan in the kind of our modern ISKCON era has to give credit to Indra Prabhu.
Another thing I was thinking, is of course now you have 3 children, so
yeah, it's really nice to create a platform that with devotees, but because people need psychological help, they need help. We need help with our emotions. We need help with our body, health, physical health, emotional health, mental health. So it's really wonderful that with the spiritual teachings that obviously nourish the heart and the soul, through that, then there's other ways that we can access our heart more through these other, these tools of counseling and exercise and meditation or mindfulness or whatever. These are wonderful tools. And obviously one thing that they do so wonderfully, specifically on the Wisdom of the Sages, is, taking ancient wisdom and how to apply that practically in our lives right now. I recently did a workshop with some youth in Sweden, and I really wanted to touch on some subjects that just really practical and be real with the young people. So we were taking various stories from the Vedic literature, and Vyasadeva and his depression. Because, why the Bhagavatam came? Because he had depression. Or Durvasa Muni and his anger issues.
Yes.
Shiva, his, sexual attraction to Mohini Murti. Or, we were really touching on these very real topics that we feel that might be anarthas in our own hearts and our own lives, and how we can take the stories from the Bhagavatam and from the ancient Vedic scriptures and really apply and see how they dealt with those anarthas, or how those anarthas were purified from them, and through that also deal with that in our own lives and our own hearts.
We are learning in a practical way how to overcome all this difficulty, which all the great sages, the great acharyas, they went through.
And I feel being real about it is really important. like
Absolutely.
being honest about it and
Yes.
finding, like you were talking about Sangha, finding like-minded people, friends and comrades that I can actually open up to about my difficulties that I'm going to, because we see, so many, senior Vaishnavas who bottle it up a lot, and
Yes,
then
they explode.
and then it's really unfortunate for everyone. I don't want to, I'm not trying to be critical, but I just want to be real, that if we can find that association with others, that we can be honest and truthful and open about. The loving exchanges is revealing one's mind and confidence and inquiring confidentially. These are the loving exchanges told by Rupa Goswami. So if we can find that association that nourishes us in that way, where we can be honest with ourselves and be honest with others, then I feel that we'll all help each other, we'll all uplift each other.
Absolutely. I believe Srila Prabhupada said that everyone should have a friend in Krishna consciousness, because when we have a problem, what do? We go to a friend and say, okay, look, I'm in this situation, maybe you can help me, because you zoom out, you're not in the same soup where I am. I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. And so if somebody's really friend, is real well-wisher, they actually look into your problem and say, well, maybe you should do this. And then you say, okay, this is another door I never considered, and maybe I should go in this direction. And then your problem is solved. Because maybe Krishna put problem for us to overcome, so we become strong on the path of bhakti and the path of devotional service. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely right.
We are very fortunate in Mayapur. We can have many friends, but very few close friends that we can go and actually open our heart. And we know that they will not tell anybody, or they will not denigrate us, or they will not make fun of us. Yeah. So this is very important for our growth. So how would you give some advice for our listener how to approach an higher principle life? How can we enrich our life through the process you're going through?
The advice that I've been given is that find those spiritual practices that nourish your being, that nourish my spiritual life. Find those and stick and stay as close as I can, stay as close as you can to those spiritual practices that nourish you, to those verses or those stories or that association that feeds the spirit. And there'll always be doubts. There'll always be some things that may not make sense. There may even be some, quotes by Prabhupada that may or may not, you may be struggling with. There may be some struggle. Mm-hmm. And like you said, those struggles are there for us to become stronger. And I would say it's not necessary to maybe focus too much on what isn't working or what isn't making sense, but to find those things that are, because through that nourishment, through that reciprocation that Krishna, he says that as we approach him, he'll reciprocate with us.
Absolutely.
So, and you just pointed to your heart, there's, super soul within our heart will guide us. And what I found is that the practices that may have been more difficult, like japa for me, like I love kirtan, I love chanting kirtan. I can do that for hours and hours, but chanting japa, just to sit with my beads and just my mind and recite this mantra over and over again and to, really feel Krishna's connection. It's taken me, and it still takes me, it's a struggle, but I have found that because I stayed in the association of kirtan and that service, gradually, the things that may have been, the practices that may have been more difficult for me have become
easier.
They start to, and you start to relish it, and I start to miss it, and I start to look forward to it, And so...
what would be the advice to someone who just today listening for the first time and say, well, I'd like to be more spiritual. Where do I start from? Reading the Mahabharata is very complicated. Reading the Bhagavad Gita is 18,000 slogan, whatever. What am I supposed to do? What would be your advice?
Well, I'm biased. And so my advice would be that you take the Hare Krishna mantra and you just chant that as much as you can with intention. So if it's like, if you can chant it 8 times, the mantra, right when you wake up, or when you just very simple practices. But I think that for me, the chanting is the way, the path, and the goal. It's the whole thing, So if we can start to just take that mantra and apply it in our lives more and more, we'll start to find magic happen all around us.
That's nice. That's good advice. Okay, I wanted to ask you how you balance your material life and spiritual life. Because let's say we are grihasta, so we need some money, we need a house, we need some food for the kids and education, and we have to spend some money. And I don't know if you're very rich. Maybe you are. Maybe your mother and father are so rich they can maintain you. I don't know. But what's the story? How you balance it yourself? Everybody has to find his own balance, of course. Yeah. But I'm just asking a personal question.
Well, one of the reasons coming to Mayapur was that financially it's a lot easier to be in India.
Of course.
And I don't have to hustle quite as much as I've been hustling over the last few years. And for me, COVID kind of put that into perspective that I want to be with my family more. I traveled so much. I was away from them for weeks and weeks, all the time,
Not good for
and
children.
Now, especially with 3 kids, I feel a responsibility more. So rather than like me getting a job in America, which is something I've never had a job. I've been fortunate that I've, that through traveling around specifically the yoga studios and the music festivals and, having some music available online, on Spotify and other places where people can stream, then there's a little bit that comes through. In no stretch would I ever say that I'm wealthy in a material way, but, somehow or other, the Krishna's, I'm wealthy in the sense that I've known my purpose ever since I was born. Like, my parents put that intention before I was even born. And so I feel like that clarity of purpose has kind of always been there in my life. And so everything that I do has just aligned for me to continue with that process. And I pray that everyone finds that in their life, that everyone finds their deepest purpose and is able to align everything else with that. And I mean, it's a continuous struggle. I'm not saying it's easy. I have to, I'm constantly navigating, and this part of coming here has been this navigation process, where we can live off of very simply we don't need much to be here.
Yes.
And the little bit that I do have coming in can support us to be here and my kids to immerse themselves in Vaishnava culture, and for me and my wife to, be in this wonderful land of Mayapur Dham. So, it's a blessing. And, I think that the main thing for us is us, continuing to have open and deep communication between me and my wife, because, if I can maintain, like you said, keep her happy, keep our situation happy, and then just keep things simple. And fortunately, she doesn't demand too much from me,
That's nice.
Besides my time.
That's wonderful.
And I have a struggle giving it sometimes, but
I think you're a very sincere person and you have a very good attitude. I would say that how important is an attitude for a devotee to become successful in his life? Just say something about attitude.
Well, I think an attitude. Just today, I put an Instagram post up of saying that I feel grateful for the privilege of being able to chant 2 hours every day. I feel grateful for the privilege of being here. I think an attitude of gratitude, because, and I've heard this beautiful quote. I'm probably going to mess it up right now, but basically gratitude is when what I have is enough.
Absolutely.
That whatever I have is enough. Then I'm grateful for that, as opposed to I want more, more, and more. So and bhakti is that. Everything that we do. I mean, we say a prayer to our gurus before we do anything. Om Jnanati Mirandasya. Thank you, Guru. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, the land of Mayapur. Thank you to the Vaishnavas. That attitude, then whatever I have that's coming to me, it's enough. It's just perfectly enough. And sometimes it's overflowing and more than enough.
So I think we are coming to the conclusion of this podcast. Would you like to say any further things?
Wow, we covered so many wonderful things, and I'm just, it's really nice to be here with you, Ganga Prabhu, and be part of Mayapur Radio, Radio Mayapur.
I'd like to thank you very much, Visvambhar Prabhu. It's been a great interviewing you, and I'm sure we'll get together again. Hare Krishna.
I'd like to just give a plug in for 1 second, is that on October 8th, we have Mayapuris have a new track coming out. It's called Hey Jagannath, and it'll be available on all streaming platforms. So that's 10:08.
I forgot to ask to tell our listeners where they can find your music.
Yeah. If you go to Spotify and you search Mayapuris or YouTube Mayapuris, pretty much Apple Music, any streaming platforms. I also have a group called the Hanumen that I perform with Gauravani, so you can search that on most streaming platforms. But Mayapuris has a lot of content out there, and we hope to keep producing more and sharing more. And you can check me out on Visvambhar Sate on Facebook or Visionary on Instagram.
That's beautiful, wonderful. Thank you so much once again. Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you so much.